Is Tennessee peaking at just the right time? So let's begin with this, Caleb. If they are peaking at the right time, how much does it help them with the college football playoff selection committee?
Well, that is a huge deal because I think the selection committee factors in recency bias because, as we've talked about, it's a TV show. They want to benefit the teams with the best chance to advance. So, yeah, they're peaking at the right time.
So if they're peaking at the right time, is it because of the offensive tackles or is it this guy?
Iamaleava.
Which one? The offensive tackles or Nico?
Can I say both? Or do I have to pick?
You have to pick.
It's the offensive tackles then. I think the offensive tackles have really settled down. And because of their settling down, Nico Iamaleava, well, not settled down, they're just playing much, much better. And it's resulted in Nico Iamaleava settling down. And now with Iamaleava finally settled down, we're seeing the type of throws he can make. Dave, he made finally last week. I'm not counting the UTEP game. UTEP was a bad team, and Scotty Walden threw everything at them in the first quarter, as I knew he would. But Iamaleava made some throws on Saturday. I mean, they were impressive. He made that touchdown pass to Miles Kitzelman in the end zone was just a thing of beauty on the 10-yard go route. The pass to Dante Thornton over the middle, people keep leaving the middle of the field wide open. Now, he made one horrible throw. That interception he threw was a dramatic underthrow, and honestly, he finished 18 of 26 for 257 yards. He should have finished 19 of 27 for 337 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had Dante Thornton wide open. I think Joe Milton crept in his head because I think after seeing Joe Milton play for a year, he freaks out about overthrowing receivers. So he underthrew him in that moment. But I think he's much more settled because Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr. are not making mistakes in pass pro. They didn't give up a sack on Saturday against Vanderbilt. So because of that, Nico is peaking at the right time. He had never thrown 4 touchdown passes in a college football game until UTEP, and now he's done it back-to-back weeks. Now, you can say it's UTEP and Vanderbilt, 2 bad teams. But those are the 2 worst teams Tennessee's played this year. So it's not like Nico. But those were Nico Iamaleava's 2 best games.
Okay, but how much of this is schedule? I mean, it fits a good narrative for Tennessee leading into the college football playoffs. They make it, and they look like one of the hottest teams out there. But how much of this is the opponent, the schedule of UTEP and Vanderbilt?
Well, you could say somewhat, Dave, but honestly, outside of Georgia, which is a difficult environment on the road at night, I mean, I think I've seen Iamaleava pretty much play elite football since the Kentucky game. And now, again, yes, Georgia was the only – and I'm actually going to go back from Kentucky. I take that back. Since the second half of Alabama. I mean, since the second half of Alabama, I think Nico Iamaleava has been superb. And I wouldn't trade him for any quarterback since that time period. I think he's been incredible. And there were issues at Kentucky, but it was because of the receivers. They set on the lead because Iamaleava got hurt against Mississippi State. But Dave, you watched that game. Iamaleava could have easily thrown 5 touchdowns if they wanted to.
Certainly.
And so they pulled him. And in the Georgia game, there were a lot of things happening in that game, a lot of factors. That the defense couldn't get off the field. I'm saving this, but I'm saving this as a topic for tomorrow, Dave. But I'm just going to tease it. I have a theory about the defense, which is that I think Tim Banks and the defense actually hid some of what they could do against Georgia because they knew they were going to go to the playoff. So that's just my thought. But because they couldn't get off the field, Nico Iamaleava and the offense couldn't do what they wanted to do. So I actually think Iamaleava has turned out. I think he's played great down the stretch. I really do. And since the second half of Alabama, he has looked mostly like the quarterback we expected him to be.
Vols playing well on offense due to offensive tackles, 52%, Nico 47%. New poll that you can vote on. Are Vols peaking at right time? Yes, look at them. No, opponents. I think you do have to factor in some of the opponents, right? Because it looked like Vanderbilt might even win that game for a short time.
It did, but Vanderbilt is going to a bowl game, and the game was technically a road game, and they did beat Alabama. I mean, I can throw all those things out there. So it's not like Vanderbilt was just a straight-up walk in the park. And again, they weren't looking like this against bad opponents earlier. So I think you got to give them some credit. I think Tennessee is en route to a very, dare I say, they're the 2007 Giants.
Oh, with Tennessee has better quarterback play.
Peak, or did they just get lucky?
What?
Did the Giants actually peak in the playoffs, or did they just get lucky?
I thought they peaked, and I thought they were really good on their defensive line, which I thought that was the comparison you were going with, because Tennessee is as well. But Caleb, all that being said, I just don't see the comparison there, because I think at this level, Nico is significantly better than Eli Manning.
Not like Nico right now versus Eli Manning in the NFL, right? In 2007.
Right.
You just mean relative to the level.
Freshman as opposed to multi-year NFL player.
Right. I think Nico Iamaleava, I could agree with that, but then that even favors my point. What about your first Cowboys Super Bowl with Troy Aikman? Didn't they peak in December that year, just before the playoffs in January?
They always, what their advantage was, is they held really physical practices throughout the season, which a lot of people hated, but you didn't have free agency, so nobody could leave. And
okay. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So then what about okay, let me just put it to you this way. Those low seeds in college basketball that sometimes make a deep run and maybe even win the tournament and then NCAA tournament, you realize they were really young teams that just kind of got it together just in time for March. And then you realize they had the talent and they did it. My most notable one is Florida's back-to-back national titles with Joakim Noah and all those guys. Remember the first one, they were just a 3 seed. They just kind of barely got in, but what'd they do? They go win the conference tournament, and then they go win the national title. It just comes together. Is this Tennessee football team the 2005-2006 Florida Gators basketball team?
David says, Nico reminds me of the Iceman, Casey Clausen. I think even Casey would say that Nico's a better runner. But I think he is going to be a guy with deft touch and a clutch player, which certainly Casey was.
Yeah, but we can't. Casey never would have fumbled a snap out of nervousness at Arkansas.
Well, that's fair.
I mean, Casey would have thrived in that moment. Are you kidding me?
No, probably right. I think that's very fair.